Hey, how are you? This is Paul Hutchings. Hope you're having a great day. And I am checking my streams to see if they're working. It looks like I'm working, or at least the stream is working. I'm working too. What's going on? Hope you're having a great day. This is Paul Hutchings coming to you with another episode of The Good Parts, a daily social media show where I go live once a day, Monday through Friday, to share one good part from my life and or business in an effort to share ideas that have helped me to build a life of freedom, happiness, abundance, and prosperity. And in today's episode, I want to share with you, as I wrote in the title, about a powerful decision that I made for my financial freedom. This was a decision that I made about 15-ish years ago. And it's a cool little story that I think illustrates a very powerful principle to creating a better future for yourself. And so I'm going to share this story with you along with the principle. And I also want to see if I can debunk a common personal development idea that pops up in many, many, many places. I hear it in books. I hear it in podcasts. I hear it in all kinds of places. Hey, Tiffany, how are you? Good to see you. Good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in. I've been meaning to connect with you. We missed you at the event. Hope things are well with you in your world. So, and if you are tuning in live, would you please say hello like Tiffany and Nick? Nick says, good morning. Good morning to you too, Nick. I think you were saying, he says that's hello in German. Oh, is that really? Okay, cool. I thought it was maybe an autocorrect typo thing. You know how the phone always like changes your spelling when you're typing things. So anyway, so here's a story that I wanted to share. Back when I was working a job, I actually used to work in a call center, and it was in a corporate environment. And I was making $11 an hour. That's the salary rate I always remember. It was $11.09 an hour. And I had joined my very first home business, and I was learning things like, hey, you should read books. They actually had a recommended reading list. So I was kind of like getting introduced to this new path of life, and I was still in my current path of life, which is going to work and working at this job in this corporate environment. And one of the things that I used to do that I remember very specifically, and I wasn't the only one, all my friends at the company would do this also, and that was when we would go to lunch, we would, we would go sit in the cafeteria, and we would sit around the lunch table, and for about an hour, we would complain about you name it. We would complain about the bosses. We would complain about the pay. Hey, Veroni, good to see you from Belgium. Thanks for tuning in today, all the way from Belgium. We would complain about the office drama. We would complain about other employees, and we would make jokes about it, and on and on and on, so on and so forth. And I was guilty of doing this. And so I'm doing that. And then I'm being plugged into this other community of people who are talking about being positive and being around good influences and putting good information in your mind. And I started to analyze the effect that sitting at lunch with my coworkers complaining about everything, I started to analyze the effect that it was having on me. And I realized that was making me negative, number one. But then the other thing that I realized was that it wasn't very useful, number two. It wasn't moving my life forward. And so I made a decision that instead of going to eat lunch in the cafeteria with my friends, my coworker friends, instead of doing that, I would bring my own lunch to work. And then when everyone was down in the cafeteria, what I did instead is I found a nice quiet little office space where I could be by myself, and I would eat my lunch, and I would open a book, and I would read. And I remember one of the books I read in that little office was Awaken, the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. And I started to notice that in putting good information in my mind in that hour, rather than complaining and associating with what I would call kind of a negative influence, kind of a negative, not useful influence, I started to notice that I was feeling good about the growth that was happening. I started to love the ideas that were going into my mind. And so I guess I became conscious. I became conscious that the influences around me, the people around me, had a big impact on what was going on in my mind and what was happening in my life. And so that was one of the most powerful things I did. I said, I'm going to be conscious of the influences around me, and I'm going to be willing to say no to certain people if they're not adding to my life, if they're not adding to my mind, if they're not helping me move forward. So I really, truly believe that was one of the best decisions I could have ever made. Number one, to say no to things that weren't having a good impact on me, but also number two, to decide every day that I was going to put good information in my mind. So as I was thinking about this story, and of course, 10, 15 years later, I'm completely financially free, which I'm so thankful for. And I think that decision was really a big one back in the day. But as I was thinking about this, and this leads me to the little piece of personal development dogma that I hear repeated all the time. And I'd love to ask you guys who are still here live, if we still have some live viewers, have you ever heard this phrase? Your income is the average of the 5 people, and it looks like we do still have some live viewers on. So your income is the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Have you ever heard that phrase? That if you spend time with wealthy people, with people who have more money, that naturally you will kind of just start to have more money. Have you ever heard that? I actually was listening to a Mr. Beast podcast interview on the way to Charlotte, North Carolina a couple of weeks ago with my business partner. Have you guys heard that before? Comment below if you've heard that. The 5 people you spend the most time with, if you add up all of their salaries, their net worth, you'll be the average of those 5. So Tiffany says, yes, I've heard that. Nick says, yes, I've heard that. Do you think it's true? And do you think that that is a good guide for choosing who you surround yourself with? I would love to see what you guys think about that. And so I'm going to tell you what Mr. Beast said. So Mr. Beast said that one of the best life hacks he discovered, and actually let me read Veronique's comment. She says, a positive mindset is everything. I'm busy making my own online mindset training, and Peter is reading his 28th book in 11 months. That is so cool. Way to go, Peter. Woo! I'm cheering for you. That is so cool. Veronique says, we have grown so much last year on every aspect, and therefore we want to thank you for your support and service. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so proud of you guys, and I want to thank you for being open and coachable and being willing to make these sometimes difficult decisions. I don't know why it's so hard for people to decide that they're going to invest in themselves every day. But it is hard. For the last 20 years of my life, I've been on a crusade, got the shirt that says Freedom Crusaders Alliance. And part of my crusade has been to encourage people to read books, to get into the habit every day of reading and growing their mind, growing their communication. Because what you think and what you speak has a massive impact on your financial situation. And I have noticed that as I've been a crusader for this decision, that very, very few people actually take me up on that. Very few people will actually say, okay, I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to invest 30 minutes reading from a great book. Very few in comparison to the total number of people who hear that message. So I really want to highlight Veronique and Peter for being in that small percentage. Jim Rohn says, if you want to be successful, walk away from the 97%. Don't walk like they walk. Don't talk like they talk. Don't do what they do. Don't think how they think. Don't go where they go. Be different. Step into the 3%. And I would be willing to guess that it's about probably 3% of people who wake up every day and open a book and read from a book. So that is stepping into the 3%. Nick Romani says, absolutely, because yes, the people that you surround yourself with will inevitably influence your mindset. An old saying goes, birds of one feather flock together. Okay, I like that. And I think there's truth to that. However, I still have a spin on this particular idea. But I want to share with you what Mr. Beast said. So Mr. Beast, he's the #1 YouTuber in the world. And in this interview, he said, one of the best life hacks I've discovered is if you want to get healthy, start hanging around healthy people. If you want to get in shape, start hanging around people who exercise every day. He said this is one of the best life hacks because what happens is if you start hanging around people who are doing that kind of stuff, inevitably they'll be like, hey, I'm going to go eat a salad. And you're going to think, maybe I should eat a salad. Or, hey, I'm going to go work out in the gym. And you're sitting there thinking, yeah, maybe I should do that too. So that influence absolutely does carry over to you. So Mr. Beast says this is a life hack. So back to the income thing, So I guess my question is, should I be looking around at people and asking myself, how much money do you make? What's your net worth? Okay, if you make a certain amount of money and your net worth is over this amount, okay, now you can be my friend. Should that be what I'm doing? Because isn't that kind of the implication when they say that your salary or your income is the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with? It's almost like embedding this presupposition that the only people you should spend time with are the people who are making a lot of money. And so the distinction that I want to add to that is that it does seem like the people we surround ourselves with, that does have a big impact on us. And it is a life hack. However, what I've noticed in my journey is that there are people who make a lot of money who are miserable to be around. They might have low ethical standards. They might be super negative. And so if someone's making a lot of money, but they're having a negative impact on me, do I want to include them in my circle just because they're in that income bracket? Veronique says, I think I'm going to write you an email because there's so much value that there's so much we want to share with you. Cool. Yeah. Write me an email. I'd love to hear from you guys. So I guess my point is, yes, it is true that getting around positive influences helps you to make changes. But what I would say is, please don't make the decision to have someone in your life or not solely based on their financial position. Because I know people that maybe they're not millionaires or earning a ton of money, but they're super happy and fun to be around. Should I look at that person and be like, hey, you're not quite to my income requirement, can't have you in my life? That seems so stupid to me, especially considering the fact that one of the things I think that contributes to happiness or the lack thereof, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. What makes you happy? What brings happiness? Music makes me happy. There's some music I was listening to this morning and I was like wanting to dance and I'm smiling. Oh, this makes me happy. This music. So music makes me happy. And people make me happy. The right people make me happy. So like Nick, he's a great example. At our last event, he won this award called, it was the award for pleasing personality. I think it was the Golden Smile Award. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. Golden Smile Award for pleasing personality. I like being around Nick. And he's successful financially, has a lot of rentals, and he's doing really well in his online business. He's got a YouTube channel now with over 250,000 views. So yes, he is financially successful, but I would still want Nick around me, even if he wasn't financially successful, because he's one of those people that just makes you happy to know him. Quick story about Nick. We were giving him this award for pleasing personality because of the effect that he has on us, and we like that effect. He's always giving compliments and uplifting us and thanking us, and it's just such a pleasure to be around Nick for those reasons. So we had planned to give him this award at our last event, and we're driving to the event, and we were on the phone with Amy Starr Allen, one of our business partners. Mike and I, we had her on speakerphone in my car, and Nick came up as a topic of conversation. And Amy said, do you know he is the most incredible person? And I said, yes, I do know that. And she said, you know what he did? I said, what did he do? She said, he messaged me and said, hey, what kind of perfume do you like? He goes, and he goes, not the cheap shit. Tell me the expensive stuff that you like. and Amy was like, no one's ever asked me that question before. And she said, and this perfume that I like is expensive. It's higher end. And so she told Nick the perfume that she liked, and Nick went and bought her a bottle and mailed it to her. Why? Because he's just a great guy. He's just a great guy. So yeah, that's the point that I wanted to make, is that it shouldn't just be how much money someone is making, as a deciding factor as to whether you want to be around them. Rather, I would say you want to look for character attributes that people have that you want to either develop in yourself and or continue to encourage in yourself. So with Nick, one of the things that I value is a pleasing personality. It's the law of success. Napoleon Hill writes a whole chapter on it in the laws of success. Dale Carnegie wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Having a pleasing personality, I think, is a really, really important thing to being successful. So I want to have a pleasing personality. I've studied how to have a pleasing personality. I practice how to have a pleasing personality. And now I have Nick in my life reflecting that back to me, and I want that in my life. So I guess I just wanted to share this for two reasons. One, to hopefully either remind you or make you aware that the people you choose to surround yourself with, absolutely has a big impact on who you are becoming over time. And I think we want to surround ourselves with people not just who are making a lot of money, but who have a dream, who are persistent, who are growth-minded, who are kind, who are happy, who are looking at the bright side of life. And, it seems like if you're that kind of a person, whether you have the money yet or not, you're on your way to having the money, I think. So anyway, wanted to share that as food for thought. What do you guys think? Veronique says, no negative thoughts or persons make you unhappy. You get a negative feeling, have positive thoughts. Have positive thoughts, laugh the whole day, listen to positive music, and be grateful, and you feel more and attract more. Yeah, I agree. Nick says, thank you, Paul. I do feel the same way of you, my wife, and I didn't get the rest of that comment, but I appreciate that. My wife and I talk about you all the time. I'm honored. I talk about you to my wife all the time, actually. So anyway, that's my message, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you're catching me for the first time somehow, thank you, Facebook and YouTube and X algorithm. But if you're catching me for the first time, my vision is freedom through principle-centered leadership. So I want to do everything that I can to inspire and encourage myself and others to create more freedom and prosperity in their lives, and also live great lives, develop strong moral character, live life according to principles. So if you're catching me for the first time and you want more content like this, I'd love to encourage you to subscribe to me wherever you're finding this, whatever social media channel you're finding this on. And also, if you want to be sure to not miss out on my future content, I would love to encourage you to visit my website, which is myfreedomfamily.com. Subscribe to my email list. And also, while you're there, you can take a look at what I believe to be is the world's most profitable, enlightened, high vibe business model for generating a freedom-based residual income in the shortest amount of time when you produce results. And that's the caveat. You do have to produce results, but when you produce results, I believe with our business model, you can grow a sizable residual income much faster than in many, if not all of the other businesses I've ever been a part of or even see today. So that's myfreedomfamily.com. Tiffany says, love you, Paul. You are one of my sources of positivity. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I love you too. And you have a great positive impact on me as well. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Hope you get out there, take action, go for your dreams. And I will catch you in a future episode of The Good Parts. Take care.